So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to recover traffic. This is going to be a step-by-step guide. The link to this article that I will be referencing will be in the description. I've literally just finished writing this article up based off of previous calls that I've had, consultations that I've had with website owners and business owners. I've also done a lot of data to essentially support any of my cases, and obviously you can do this yourself just by cross-referencing what I've done in this actual guide. But this video is for literally anybody. It's not just for people that have necessarily been hit by an algorithm update. It can also be for people that are looking to grow a website. I feel like it's always good to know reasons as to why websites get penalized, so you don't follow suit. And again, there's so many talking points within this article, so let's get into it.
Did you know that 81% of businesses are overspending when it comes to actually trying to rank their website organically in Google? That's why I've decided to create the Traffic Accelerator system. It will tell you exactly what your website is lacking. The Traffic Accelerator system will tell you exactly how many backlinks you need, what articles you're missing on your website, and also how to internally link those articles together to gain topical authority. Now, if you're struggling to rank on Google, click the link down below, get the Traffic Accelerator system for your website. It's only $195 and it will tell you exactly everything your website is lacking.
So we obviously start off the article by talking about the reasons why I'm doing this article, why you should listen to me. Obviously, if you guys know about me, you would have seen me out on stage and stuff talking about website recovery, so on and so forth. But step number one is always understanding the actual core update effects. So what kind of effects has it had on your website? Now, in this, I actually like to look at your Google Search Console. You can actually go in and look at prior to the core algorithm update. So this is a screenshot of a website that got hit by the helpful content update. And as you can see, you can go into Google Search Console and set up the compare section. So you're comparing two sets of dates. So this is a subset of dates prior to September and then in November 1st. So 1 week period. And as you can see, we can very quickly identify a load of pages that have actually been impacted by the core algorithm update. Now, the reason why I like to look at lost traffic in Google Search Console as opposed to Ahrefs is because on Ahrefs, sometimes it can be a little bit deceiving when you're looking at a website, because one website might get a lot of its traffic from one specific page. So if it's just that one page, you might not have necessarily been hit algorithmically throughout your entire website. That only sole page might have just been hit. So just bear that in mind after a core algorithm update. You need to figure out which pages have been actually impacted by the core algorithm update. Is it 1 page? Is it 10 pages? Is it 25 pages? Is it 500 pages? And obviously the best way that you can do that is with Google Search Console. I actually show you guys how to do that in this article. By the way, throughout this article, if obviously in this video I'm going to be talking about certain talking points, I'm not going to be going fully detailed into this article, but if at any point you guys want to dig a little bit deeper, click at the link down below, read the article. It's completely free to do. Another strategy that you can also use when you are trying to analyze lost traffic is with Screaming Frog. So with Screaming Frog, I've actually got it open here. You can actually plug in your Google Analytics and your Google Search Console as well. So if you actually go into configuration and API access, as you can see, Google Universal, Google Analytics 4, Google Search Console, And that will basically tell you page by page how many clicks, how many impressions, how many page visits, etc. it's had. So that's a little bit of like a pro tip that I've included. It's a little bit of a time-consuming task to figure out, like, okay, which of these pages have been impacted, but it's one thing that I always recommend doing. So then we need to understand why websites get hit by core updates. Now, these are the top reasons as to people contact me. So lack of topical authority, topical dilution, lack of domain authority or EAT signals, toxic backlinks, poor internal linking strategy, poor technical SEO. I'll go over all of this further in the video, but let's very quickly touch on each section. So lack of topical authority. Now, in some cases, Google gets... it obviously tracks data, right? And that's one thing that everybody understands that Google does, and it does it very well. Now, in some cases, what you will find is if somebody searches for, let's say, an article to do with the best running shoes for men, and if Google sees that a lot of people then after that search, the next thing they search is, let's say, how to clean your running shoes. And if there's a lot of people that search that, Google will then find a website that has both of those articles, and it will essentially reward that website with higher rankings. Now, if your website doesn't have that article, that means that you're lacking in topical authority. That's like one of the easiest basic ways that I can describe a lack of topical authority. Then you've got topical dilution. Now, topical dilution is the complete opposite of topical authority. Topical dilution might be when you have basically chased after keywords on Ahrefs. You've kind of went too broad, and Google now doesn't understand what your website is about. So it's kind of demoted your website across the board. And in some cases, the solution for that is obviously removing pages, or also known as content pruning. Again, we will go into this. There's a big, massive PDF at the end of this article that you'll be able to see. Then you've got lack of domain authority, so EAT signals. You might not have enough backlinks, or in some cases your competitors might have, from the previous core algorithm update to the recent core algorithm update, your competitors might have been building a lot of powerful links, and Google now sees them as a bigger domain authority as opposed to your website. You've also got the opposite of that, and that is toxic links. Now, in some cases, links can actually have a negative impact on your website. And again, we'll go into how you should be analysing your links further in this video. Poor internal linking structure. Now, a lot of people, they don't do internal linking correctly. And again, your higher ROI pages should have more internal links, because those are the pages that you want to tell Google that these are important. Look at these pages. And if all of your pages across your website have, let's say, 27 internal links, Google's like, right, okay, well, which page here is more important? Which page is less important? You obviously need to demonstrate that from your internal linking. You also then have got poor technical SEO, so you've got crawl depth, bloated site. We're also talking about a little bit on server log analysis, which people don't necessarily talk about. I've not seen many people talk about it on YouTube, but again, we'll go into detail. So once we know why websites get hit and why websites also get promoted, we want to find winners and also losers. So the best way that we can do that is with Ahrefs. So once we actually have analysed which pages have been hit, this is the next step. We want to essentially plug some of those keywords in and see who's taken over some of our spots. So when we're actually trying to find winners and losers, this is what I typically do. Now, I don't know if SEMrush has a similar option, but there's what's called position history in the Keyword Explorer section. So all I've searched here is best casino sites. I've just got US marked. And this is what we're looking at now. This just looks like a load of squiggly lines to a lot of people, but I'm going to try and simplify it as much as I can, right? So if we deselect everything, basically what we're trying to find is websites that have recently come up in the rankings, like for example this one, literally in the past, or actually after the spam update has came and started ranking position 1, and also it's been favoured in the core algorithm update. So we're trying to find as many websites that have a similar pattern, and what we're trying to basically do is find the commonality. So for example, in this result, there's only one website that's recently come up and just kind of dominated. What I like to do here is I would like to look at maybe 2 websites that have got a similar pattern. So I'm going to pause the video very quickly, and I'm going to find a result that's actually got 2 or 3 websites that actually have a similar pattern. So this is for the keyword online slots in the US, and as you can see, we've got 2 websites that have just recently, pretty much both within this span of 1 month, come in and started ranking position 10. Now, as you can see, Google is actually preferring these 2 websites, so I would be looking at these 2 as being winners and trying to figure out as to why they are ranking. So that's one of the websites, and obviously we've got freep.com. This is another website that's actually just started recently coming in. So I would be basically trying to figure out as to why those 2 websites have went up in rankings. There was a few other keywords I was actually looking at before as well. Like for example, allslot sites.com. And again, this is another one that Google has just recently, within the past year, just been preferring after every single update. So as you can see, the October 2023 core algorithm update came along, and they actually went up to position 77 and then position 42. And then there was the March update, and then they got a little bit more of a higher jump, and then obviously there was the spam update in June, and then again they got a little bit of a higher jump. Then again August 2024 update came along, and now they're position 10. So over like a 8 or 9 month period, or maybe even a little bit more, a little bit of a 11-month period, they've just slowly been increasing. So that again, that would be another website that I would be analyzing as to why Google has preferred that website after every single core update. It might be the content, it might be the links, but we're also going to speak about that in this video and how to actually analyze that as well. So now that we actually know a little bit more about the position history, one thing that you can also do as well is if your website is no longer in the top 10 results, you can actually add your domain here and to compare it as to why it's potentially dropped, or potentially if you've got yourself and maybe another one of your competitors has also dropped, you can actually add in 2 domains here. And you can very quickly start analysing as to why you've dropped and who's actually started winning as well. So one thing that I also mentioned in this article, this is really important as well to understand, is that you shouldn't blindly listen to one SEO or one SEO guru or one SEO person in particular. And the reason why I say that is because from one industry to another, or from one style of website to another, so for example, an e-commerce store to a blog website to a local service site, those are completely different algorithms. So Google prefers certain things in certain algorithms. Now, the example that I've actually used in this is Google would evaluate a porn site completely different to a plumbing website. So for example, on the porn website, it's going to rely a lot more on dwell time. So that's going to be a higher ranking factor. Whereas for the plumbing website, Google's going to prefer localized relevant reviews, service-specific content. So it's 2 very completely different algorithms. Like a lot of people say that links isn't as much of a ranking factor. But for example, if I'm the head SEO at IKEA, or if I'm the head SEO at Forbes, I'm probably never going to need to buy links because I've already got every single link in the world. Whereas if you are just starting out as a local plumber or a local HVAC company, you're going to need some link building for your website. So then we're talking about analysing content quality and relevance. Now, I've actually spoke about this before, but your website should follow a similar suit. Now, this is one thing that I would probably say that every single website would actually benefit from, and that is having a proper strategic funnel. So top of the funnel articles, middle of the funnel articles, and also bottom of the funnel articles. So for example, top of the funnel would be easy cake recipes for beginners. Middle of the funnel would be best cake baking tools. Bottom of the funnel would be choosing the right stand mixer, right? So you've got awareness stage, you've got the consideration stage, you have the goal decision stage as well. Also, if you guys want a little bit of a pro tip, I do have the keyword clustering tool that you guys can use for that. It's completely free to use, but that should definitely help when it comes to actually strategically grouping your keywords together and going after all of the stages that people would want to see on your website. Then we've got comparing backlink profiles. So I've got like a little bit of a bullet pointed list as to what you should be looking for, what you should be looking out for as well. Now, one thing that a lot of website owners and business owners don't understand is the fact that links aren't all just one value. And what I mean by that is like some links, if say, for example, there was a scoring system for links, 10 being the most important and then 0 being like the least impact it's actually going to have on your website. Obviously, there's negative impacts as well, but let's say it's a scale from 0 to 10. There's some links that will push the needle and they're going to be like 10 out of 10 links. There's going to be some links that are going to be 7 out of 10 links. There's going to be some links that might be 4 out of 10. And obviously, it all comes down to link relevance, the domain authority, the traffic value, link neighborhoods, the actual anchor text. Some people, they over-optimize on the anchors. So, for example, if you want to try and rank for, let's say, best HVAC company in San Francisco, you might want to do, or a lot of people, they'll over-optimize on the anchors. So they'll only go after exact match anchors. You might want to go after branded anchors. You might want to go after much more safer anchors, and then you might want to tap 1 or 2 exact match anchors, and that's going to be a much safer strategy. In some cases, what people will do is they'll go with heavily exact match anchors, and they'll actually have a negative impact to the ranking. So they might be position 5. They're going to build, let's say, 4 or 5 exact match anchors, backlinks through to their website, and they'll go to, let's say, position 15. So just bear that in mind when you are doing any form of link building, or let's say, for example, if you've recently been hit and it's only on one specific page, that might be the reason why you might have overdone it with your anchor text. Now, a quick strategy or a quick fix for that is actually building some branded anchors through to that specific page. Link placement, so obviously in context, links are way better than just having, let's say, image links, for example. You've obviously got the site freshness, so that website that's linking to you, how fresh is that website? Is it just a PVN, or is it a well-maintained website? And then last but not least, you've also got the LRT toxicity score. So one thing that I've always mentioned when doing disavows, for example, let's say, for example, if you have got toxic links pointing through to your website, this is the tool that I use for doing disavows. I don't like using SEMrush. And the reason for that is I've mentioned in this article, but the issue you've actually got with SEMrush is the fact that it grades links incorrectly when it comes to toxicity, or I believe they call it spam score in SEMrush. And the reason for that is, let's say, for example, if I was linking in my footer to Gamble Aware is the example that I've used. Now, Gamble Aware, for any of you guys that don't know, if you are a gambling casino or if you are an affiliate site in the UK, you need to by law link to Gamble Aware or they will just shut your website down. Now, SEMrush would pick that link up from my website or from any website as being a toxic link because it's a site-wide footer link, and that's not true. So just bear that in mind. If you've ever done a disavow with SEMrush, it's probably, I'm going to say it's about 95% inaccurate because of how they score the links. And again, a little bit of a mind twister. A toxic link to a fresh website might actually have a positive impact to a more historic website. So just bear that in mind. That's one thing that I tell SEOs, and they kind of can't wrap their head around it when I mention it to them. And that's because, like, for example, if I'm a more established website and I'm getting a link, because I have foundation links, that link will actually have a positive impact. Whereas, for example, if you're just starting out, a link can potentially have a negative or a harmful impact to a much newer website. So just bear that in mind when you're evaluating links. And then we've also got like evaluating your links for like your actual branded profiles and stuff. So for example, if we can get links from Crunchbase, LinkedIn, Wikipedia, Trustpilot, Glassdoor. Now obviously Wikipedia for a brand new website is basically impossible. But you can definitely get a LinkedIn profile, you can definitely get a Trustpilot, you can definitely get Glassdoor, Crunchbase, you can get all of those links, and that will essentially help a lot with your EAT. What we're trying to do with a lot of our branded and our social links is whenever somebody searches our brand, let's say it's HighROI, if you search HighROI right now, you're going to see my Instagram profile, you're going to see my YouTube channel, you're going to see my website, you're going to see my Facebook, you're going to see my X account, everything you're going to see very, very quickly. So you're going to understand that HighROI is a real person. I'm not just AI. And one example that I have used in this is IBM. They do a very, very good job. And I've used IBM in the past and people have kind of given me hate for it. And that's because IBM are a multi-trillion pound company probably. Now, because I'm using IBM, it doesn't mean that you need to have IBM money to actually be able to get some of these. Like Crunchbase is completely free. So is Glassdoor. So is Trustpilot. You can get a free Trustpilot, I believe. But getting featured on industry blogs and network relevant sites or niche relevant websites, it's not going to break the bank. You might only need to spend, let's say, anything between $500 to $1,000. That could be like a very good starting point for a lot of niche specific websites, especially if, say, for example, you're service based or if you're a business website, you can very quickly get some good results with that kind of budget. Now, if you say, for example, you're in a little bit of a harder industry, let's say you're in law, again, you might only need to spend, let's say, 5 to 10K. And again, for some of you guys that are in like the personal injury law, you very much know that 5 to 10K a month on link building, you can actually win that in one personal injury law case. So again, it comes down to the industry and where you're trying to rank. But again, by all means, you do not need IBM money to actually do link building and build a good brand. And then we're talking about technical SEO and the crawlability and indexation of your website. Now, for any of the advanced SEOs, you'll obviously understand crawl depth. And that was a really good way of ranking websites. And it still is. Like crawl depth is probably one of like the biggest technical SEO issues that websites have. They aren't prioritizing certain pages. So for example, for anybody that doesn't know what crawl depth is, very quickly I'll explain it. So crawl depth is basically how many clicks away certain pages are from your homepage. So for example, if this is our homepage and then we have got free internal links to these pages, and then these pages then link, or these pages then have one one page underneath them. So you've got these 4 pages. So you've got crawl depth number 1, crawl depth level 2, and crawl depth level 3. So basically these are 3 clicks away from the actual homepage, right? Now, one thing to bear in mind when it comes to Google actually crawling your website is, even if you have got a crawl depth of 3, let's say, Google sometimes ignores these pages, or not sometimes, a lot of times Google does ignore a lot of pages, even if you have got a good crawl depth. And what I mean by that is, this is the entry point and this is the actual exit point, and Google's just ignored a lot of these pages. So Google has just entered on this page, it's crawled this page, and it's also crawled this page, and then it's just left. And it's just ignored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages on our website. Now, what a lot of people do is they'll assume that Google's crawling their best content, and it's actually not the case. What Google actually does do very, very well is it will crawl pages that actually get traffic. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, in this case, if this page links to this page, and also this page then links to this page, Google's going to follow this, and then it's just going to leave our website. What we should be doing is actually looking at the pages on our website that actually get a lot of traffic, and internally linking those pages to other relevant pages. So, for example, what I've actually said here is, if you are uncertain of which pages Google is actually actively revisiting on your website, not just crawling and indexing, but revisiting on your website, what you should be doing is looking at tools like JetOctopus. This is probably my go-to tool. I would actually prioritize JetOctopus a little bit more over Screaming Frog in this scenario, because it actually tells you, or it actually reads log files very, very well, and it also displays log files or server logs in a much presentable way. And it basically, it's probably my internet right now, but basically it's going to reveal entry and exit points and crawl frequencies, and it's also going to highlight ignored pages as well. So that's one thing that you should definitely be looking at. Because Google's indexed the page and it's kept a page indexed, doesn't mean that Google is actively recrawling that page. Now, the best way that obviously you can analyze these pages is with either JetOctopus or Screaming Frog. Screaming Frog, not many people know about this. It actually does have a log analyzer, but from a visual point of view, if you don't want to be looking at spreadsheets all day, JetOctopus is probably my go-to tool for that. And again, just because you've got crawl depth, it doesn't necessarily mean that Google's crawling all of your crawl depth 2 pages or all of your crawl depth 1 pages. So just bear that in mind. Obviously, if you can take a look at your actual server logs and figure out which pages are your entry points and which pages are your exit points, it can definitely help. Then you've got understanding internal linking strategies. Now, what you want to be doing is making certain that your high ROI pages are the pages that actually generate you the most amount of inquiries or the most amount of sales if you're an e-commerce store, or the most amount of affiliate offers. Those pages should be getting the most amount of internal link equity. And the reason for that is because you're telling Google that, listen, this page on my website is important to me, so I want you to revisit that page as much as possible. And a lot of people back in the day, some of you guys might be watching this as experienced SEOs, maybe you've even been doing it for longer than I have. Back in, like, let's say 8 or 9 years ago, people were doing what's called link sculpting. And link sculpting was basically like, you would no follow some links and you would do follow links to pages that you really care about. Now, link sculpting's kind of died in that case, but you can still tell Google which pages on your website are more important and which pages Google should be revisiting and recrawling frequently. And again, that's all done with internal links. Like, let's say, for example, if you've got 5 pages on your website and all 5 of these pages have one internal link each, Google doesn't know which of these pages it should prioritize when it comes to ranking. Whereas, let's say page number 1 out of the 5 has, let's say, 4 internal links. Google obviously understands that that page is more important than the rest of the other pages. So just bear that in mind. Obviously, I'm talking about like pushing power to key pages. Another tool that you can obviously use for this, which is pretty decent as well, is Sitebulb. Now, Sitebulb actually gives you a simulated page rank. So it gives you, I believe they call it a UR rank. I could be wrong in saying that, but I believe it is called a UR rank. Basically, that just tells you, like, okay, all of your website has X amount of internal links. This page here has 4 internal links. What are you doing? That should actually be 25 internal links, for example. So again, highly recommend checking out Sitebulb. And then we're talking about cost of information retrieval. Now, if any of you guys don't know what cost of information retrieval is, I have included a really good guide by Corey, a little bit more of a technical guide on cost of information retrieval, but a very much dumbed down version of cost of information retrieval. If we just zoom into this example here, we've got 2 websites. We've got website number 1, and what people don't realize is that every page that you publish on your website, there is a direct cost for Google to crawl and index that page. Now, what I've done here is website number 1, it's got 6 high quality pages, and it's going to cost Google $6 for Google to crawl and index those pages. Now, it's going to be a lot cheaper. I've just used $1 because it's very easy to just understand from a maths point of view. It's probably going to be like maybe even half a cent. It's going to be very, 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 very cheap, because if you just imagine how many pages are live on Google, I think there's over 1 trillion pages. There's no way it's going to cost Google $1 per page to index and crawl those pages, but I've just used $1 as an example. But on website number 2, we've got the exact same 6 pages that we had here. But we've also got 4 pages here that are lower quality pages. So we've got 6 high quality pages, but it's actually cost Google $10 to crawl and index this website. Now, if we're just looking at these as thinking, okay, it's 6 pages and 10 pages, there's not much of a difference. But if, say, for example, if it's a 200-page website and a 250-page website, that's when Google is going to much prefer website 1 as opposed to website 2. So just bear that in mind. If you've got low quality pages or thin content pages, you definitely want to be making certain that you are actually trying to become website 1. And what I mean by that is like potentially pruning some of these pages or combining some of these pages. We're going to be talking about content pruning in just a second. But in some cases, if you have been hit by like a spam penalty, this might be the reason why you might have a lot of thin pages on your website, or you might have a lot of low quality pages, and Google's just said, right, do you know what, we're just going to hit this website with a manual spam penalty, and that's going to essentially free up a lot of our cost of information retrieval. So again, I've spoke about this, and we've then also speaking about topical coverage versus topical authority. Now, one thing that people don't realize is that topical coverage is basically when you're breaking down pages into, let's say, 50 shallow pieces of content, whereas topical authority, you're actually getting traffic to a page. And what I mean by that is, in some cases, a lot of SEOs, they break down websites or they break down pages too much, and they end up essentially covering the topic. But what they could have actually done is they could have actually had, let's say, out of those 50 pages, they could have actually combined those into being, let's say, 15 high traffic pages. And that's when Google actually really likes your website, as opposed to coming back and needing to index 5 more pages, where you could have just had those 5 pages as being one page on your website. So in some cases, you're going to need to consolidate and combine the actual fragmented articles into one strong, comprehensive article. In some cases, you can create a pillar content, focus on higher value pieces that can serve as a cornerstone content for your niche. And then you can obviously interlink your articles. So boost your authority by interlinking related pieces, create a web of high quality relevant content. So for example, this page that I'm looking at right now, this is actually probably more of a pillar content, because I'm talking about so many different things. I'm talking about content pruning, I'm talking about disavows, I'm talking about topical authority, I'm talking about a lot of things. Now, would this be more beneficial to you as the visitor as being individual pages, or would it be more beneficial if it was done the way that I'm doing it right now? It's probably going to be more beneficial doing it with the way that I'm doing it right now, because it's more of a guide. So just bear that in mind. But in some cases, let's say in a month's time, I might decide to do a page talking about just disavows, and I might actually internal link this disavow section on this page to that disavow page talking about how to fully do a disavow. So just bear that in mind when you are doing topical authority versus topical coverage. You want to be doing topical authority, not just topical coverage. So then we are talking about pruning low value content. So this is probably the most time consuming flowchart that I have worked on. And the reason for that is because there's so many if statements, there's so many reasons as to why you should 301 a page or 410 a page, so on and so forth. I know that Matt recently done a page or a video on content pruning. This is a much more in-depth version. And we're also talking about 410, which I don't think he actually touched on. But let's actually take a look at this article here, or this content flow. So we've obviously got, is the content out of date? We've got a yes, no. And we've also got reasons as to when you should 301 a page, or when you shouldn't, or when you should 410 a page. In some cases, you should 410 a page. In some cases, you should 301 a page. Obviously, you guys can check out the full-on reasons as to why you should or you shouldn't prune a page. But just to recap what this image basically says, or what you should be looking at, is reasons as to why you should 301 as opposed to 410. So a 410 basically tells Google the next time Google comes to crawl a page on your website and it gets displayed a 410, it basically means that, hey, Google, don't come to this URL. It is no longer existent. So Google deems that page as being basically dead. Now, let's say, for example, if I was to 410 a page on my website that had backlinks, that would be an incorrect move. I would much prefer to 301 that page. So I would try to find, let's say, a more relevant article that I could 301 a page through to. Or in some cases, I would potentially even look to 301 it back to my homepage. So let's say, for example, if I had a link from Forbes, let's say, through to a page that I wanted to 301, I would potentially 301 it to my homepage if I couldn't find a relevant article. In a lot of cases, I'm trying to find a relevant piece that I can 301 that old page through to, and that's when I basically get the biggest bang for my buck. I've obviously spoke about that. So, will deleting content hurt my SEO rankings? Content pruning can actually boost your rankings. It removes low quality pages that hurt your authority. Use 301 redirects to keep the link value. Can I prune content that has backlinks? Be careful with pages that have strong backlinks. Instead, deleting or updating or redirecting them to maintain the link value can definitely help. So again, In some cases, you might not even want to do content pruning. You might want to just refresh that content. How can I tell if a page is considered thin content by Google? Thin content is shallow, lacks detail, or offers little value. Google sees pages with few words or poor intent match or less detail than competitors as thin. And then the actual last closing part is obviously taking action. I feel like I've provided a lot of value in this article. If you guys do have any questions about this article, feel free to drop them down in the actual comment section. I might actually create an FAQ section on this and include your questions, because one thing to bear in mind is that if you have the question, there's probably going to be other people that actually have the question, and no question is a stupid question, because I'm happy to answer any of your questions. I feel like I've just said questions about 40 times in the past 1 minute. But that has been like a 40-minute video on actually recovering your website SEO traffic. Remember to visit the page. There's a lot more things that I haven't actually went over in this video. But if you guys have enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like. And if you guys do want a growth call, maybe you've been impacted by a recent algorithm update, check out the website, head over to the contact form, fill out the actual contact page, and I will be in touch with you. Thanks.